Hello, everybody. Welcome back to I think I'm calling this Let's Pause. I ran across another video. I'm hoping I run across several videos over several weeks so that I stay relevant uh for the YouTube algorithm. Anyway, what I have today is uh I'm sure a lot of people know who Quinton is. If you don't, he's doesn't have a good reputation. I'll say that much. He doesn't, and he yeah. I if, I'm sure there's like reviews of him out there. I'm not really gonna cover like what he how bad of a whatever he is, but this video in particular, I saw this about a year ago. I discovered this video, and saw that it said 1997 Love Bug remake, and I didn't know that this movie even existed. So I went and watched that, and that's the worst Herbie movie I've ever seen. And I've seen Herbie Rides Again, which is the second worst one. I thought that was the worst one, but like after seeing the 97 Love Bug, uh, yeah, this one's worse. This one's so much worse. And Quentin's argument, or I shouldn't say argument, but he thinks that this is the best Harvey movie, or a really good movie, even though it's absolute dog doo doo. So anyway, I think I think we're gonna go ahead and watch this masterpiece. And I have no idea. I've seen like 4 or 5 minutes of this before I decided to start this video. So I have no idea what this intro is supposed to mean, or like what it even is. Um, I don't know if it's like his channel's um, regular intro or not. I have no idea. But yeah, Versailles. What? Versailles. Does he? That's okay. Well, he's clearly not in France because that's not very. I'm curious as to where that is now. Oh boy, this is lasting quite a while. uh, okay. Oh god, the green on. Good lord, that looks fine. This looks fine. That does not look. It doesn't look. It looks disgusting. Maybe if I'm trying to think of like, maybe make the glow black instead. That probably would have looked better instead of green, because that just looks ugly. The love bug thing though, that looks good. Good on you. It's the other half that, yeah, no. Oh dear lord. I don't know if I want to look at his face for the entirety of this video. I don't know if I want to or not. This might be a horrible mistake. Let's see. By the way, this is 17 minutes. The last Let's Pause video that I covered was 7 minutes, and I skipped 2 minutes of that because it was like sponsorships. Um, and that took me an hour and 40 minutes to get through. I and as you can see, this is part one. of, I think, 3 parts. I'm not entirely sure because on the right, y'all can't see this, but on the right there's a 24-minute video which is part 2. I don't know if there's a third part or not. I remember there being a third part, but I might be remembering wrong. Anyway, let's continue.
There are two things that I try to avoid doing on this channel. I don't start beef with other YouTubers.
That's rich coming from you, Quinton. That's rich. Because the beef you started with Mahler isn't your fault at all. Or the beef you have with, I think the Nostalgia Critic? I'm not quite sure if that's... No, it's Doug Walker. Or no, I think Doug Walker is the Nostalgia Critic, isn't he? Hang on, let me look this up. Let me look this up. Who is Doug Walker? Sorry, you'll have to look it. Who is Doug? Oh, not Fug. Doug Walker. Walkett. Walker. Yep, the Nostalgia Critic. Okay. Man, I don't like insulting people about their looks, but my god, it's so hard to look at Quinton. It's very difficult. It's really hard to look at him. Anyway.
And I try not to get too butthurt when people have opinions that are different from my own.
That's also rich coming from you. Anyway.
But several years ago, one of my favorite content creators posted a video which has bothered me.
Dear Lord, that's such a strange cut. Oh god, I don't, I feel so uncomfortable. I feel very uncomfortable looking at this.
Quite a lot.
I don't know. In all honesty, the idea only had possibility for one movie, and even then, it wasn't really that much possibility. They just kind of got lucky in how goofy it was. Again.
I feel like I had to say something. Oh yeah, he's only calling this out several years ago. Like this was a review that Doug Walker released several years before this video, which let me remind you, I mean I didn't tell you in the first place, but this was in July 1st, 2016. But it's several years before this, but he's just now bringing it up, which I find interesting. But anyway.
Bruce Campbell driving Herbie. Just watching him talk to the car is kind of funny. But really,
What?
That's just kind of a kitsch thing. Like, oh, isn't it funny if you know who Bruce Campbell is and know what Herbie is to see them together talking, but...
Yeah, I don't know who Bruce Campbell is. I don't understand the, I feel like this is something that Quentin talks about a lot, too, is that, I want to say Chris Campbell, but it's, Bruce Campbell. But I don't really know who this actor is. I don't know what he's done in the past, but I'm assuming this has something to do with the previous role that he's played.
But yeah, that's not really enough to make it last throughout an entire movie.
What?
Okay, so straight
What the heck is he hang on, what? What is he whatting at? I don't think... That didn't sound like it. That was Doug Walker's entire point, though. Let me listen to it in full.
It wasn't really that much possibility. They just kind of got lucky in how goofy it was. Again, Bruce Campbell driving Herbie. Just watching him talk to the car is kind of funny. But really, that's just kind of a kitsch thing. Like, oh, isn't it funny if you know who Bruce Campbell is and know what Herbie is to see them together talking, but yeah, that's not really enough to make it last throughout an entire movie.
Okay, it's just a minor point. He's just like, oh yeah, it's funny that Bruce Campbell is talking to Herbie. If you know who Bruce Campbell is and you know who Herbie is, I only know who Herbie is, so it's not funny to me, which makes sense to me because not it doesn't work for me. So like, I think that feels like a point that he was going to make. Um, by the way, if you don't know, Quentin likes to take people out of context. Um, but he but I feel like that was a minor point compared to what else he was going to say. I haven't seen Doug Walker's review of it, so I might watch it in between this and that, and if it's any good, if it's good and or bad, if it's bad, I'll probably cover it in Let's Pause. But if it's good, then I'll just have extra context for it. Anyway.
What?
Okay, so straight up, when I was a kid, I worshipped the 1997 Love Bug.
Okay. Okay, well, that's already your first problem then. Because you're. Yeah, as a kid, you worshipped it, but, like, now that you're older, don't you think it's, like, time to look at it critically and think. Because I know that, like, there. Shark Tale was a movie that I grew up on, and I used to love that movie to death. And then, like, when I got older and figured out what a good movie and a bad movie is, I watched it and I was like, "Oh God, this isn't good." So like, it shows. So people's opinions change over time, most certainly, but like kids have no idea what a good movie looks like. They have no idea. They don't have a huge artistic view. They don't have that ability to think critically about movies and such. So like yeah, it's not a defense for the movie, but I'm sure that's not what he's saying. I'm just saying that right now. Like he's he's setting himself up. Um, because I think at the very end of the movie he says, "So are my eyes filled with too much nostalgia?" Because he defends this movie to death. But it's also called remake, even though it's supposed to be a reboot. And more than that, it's a soft reboot because what's his face shows up. The first owner of Herbie, I forgot what his name is, but he shows up in this movie. And yeah, I don't remember what the point was that I was making, but yeah, he, yeah. Okay, let's go. Yeah.
Remake. I was a huge
Yeah, it's a reboot, you dingus.
Herbie holic. I saw them all over and over again on VHS, and the 19
Yeah, so well, I watched them all on DVD because I was born in '99. But like, yeah, but that doesn't mean that I can't think of them as good. That doesn't mean I can't say that there are good and bad Herbie movies because the best ones are the first one and the third one. All the other ones are like garbage. Um, and I know it's debatable that only the first one is garbage, but I think the third one is like one of the better ones. Uh, but anyway, yeah,
1997 film was the one that I appreciated.
I worshipped Herbie movies, but I had never heard of this movie, and I don't know if that's a bad sign. But this movie never got a DVD release. It was only released on television. So like there I don't that doesn't sound like a good sign to me if it would never got a DVD release.
The most out of the bunch. It was something special that I held very close to my heart. So
I mean, you could, yeah, sure, you can, yeah. I mean, that's all subjective stuff, but like, because just because someone has a different opinion than you doesn't mean that they are wrong. Because he's gonna he yeah he yeah okay anyway.
it kind of hurts to sit back and hear a content creator that I respect so much state out loud, unironically, over.
Yeah, sure, you respect him. uh, Based on some of the comments that I read of this, he actually like starts a huge feud with the nostalgia critics. So, yeah, like a few weeks after this came out.
Over and over again that the literal only noteworthy thing about the product that I loved so much was that Bruce Campbell is in it, and that Bruce Campbell was in another film that also featured a car that was alive.
Look,
I mean, I I don't think that's an actual critique, but like something else I have to say is like about that movie is that I don't think there's a single noteworthy thing about it besides Horace, which I mean looks cool, but his design is stupid. Um, but other than that, he's there's like nothing. I don't think there's anything good to say about this movie. Most of the scenes are pretty forgettable.
Doug, we get it. You love cars too.
What? Okay, now I have to see Dog Walker's Cars 2 review because that's the worst Cars movie, and none of the Cars movies are good. So that's interesting. Um,
It's your favorite movie.
I don't know if that sounds kind of that sounds kind of I don't I mean I don't know the guy. I don't know Doug Walker. I haven't watched any of his videos. But I don't think that Cars 2 is anyone's favorite movie.
But not all of us can view every film that we ever see throughout our entire lives as a comparison to the Cars franchise.
He's only referring to that movie because Herbie is a living car. And the Cars movies, and oh my god, that face! I can't look at that face. But the Cars franchise, it's about a bunch of living cars in a society. Like they live in a society. Um, there is somewhat of a good reason to compare Cars and Herbie, but I failed. I mean, you have to give us more context for him comparing every movie to Cars.
Over the years, though, the more I considered this, the more I started to wonder if the film.
Wait, over the years? So why is he talking about like I once respected him as like a recent thing? If he had time to think about this review. What? I mean, okay, to be fair, I saw this review a year ago, and I waited to respond to it now, but like I didn't have a channel back then, and I wasn't making YouTube videos, but now that I am making YouTube videos, I can finally cover this, and look at that, it was the second thing I covered. So yeah, yeah,
Really was as good as my memory had told me that it was. My mind
yeah. That's a good sign to like rewatch it now that you're older and you understand films more.
wandered to Space Jam, a film that came out the year I was born, but I never actually saw growing up. I've heard a lot of criticisms about the film
I don't think I ever saw it either, so I can't really say much about Space Jam.
from older viewers and people who didn't grow up with it. But from my experience, people who did grow up watching it won't accept even the slightest suggestion that the film is anything less than my generation's Citizen Kane.
I mean, a lot of people will say that about a lot of different movies. So, like, just saying Space Jam is kind of. Yeah, but, like, aren't you kind of comparing yourself to that then? Because you are. You're gonna. When you start the review, you don't really criticize it. You just praise it endlessly for the stupid stuff that it does. But whatever.
Perhaps there is the slightest chance that my admiration for the 1997 Love Bug film branches entirely from the fact that it is something that I am nostalgically attached to.
That sounds about right based on the way you view it and throughout the review. That does seem to. I mean, based on my memory of the review, that seems to be. Yeah.
The fact that so many people have less than stellar things to say about the film.
Oh, so it got a VHS release, but it didn't get a DVD one. Oh, but the other five did. What does that tell you about this movie? Also, like Herbie's license plate is wrong there. It's supposed to be like OFP 197. I don't remember, but it's not Love Bug.
Can't boil down to everyone I disagree with being out
Good
of
that dude is just, he just does not care about what's going on.
touch. I'm not afraid to look back on things that I once liked and admit that they might have been a little bit stupid. Look at my old haircuts, for instance. What the fuck was I thinking?
All right, self-deprecation. Yeah, sure, but like, yeah. I haven't seen enough of his videos to know like what all he's gone back and criticized and realized. Oh yeah, this is really bad. But I feel like if he had enough brain cells, he'd have. I shouldn't be insulting him this much, but like, because I don't want to start a beef with someone who has like 300,000 subscribers. Um, yeah, I mean, I say that, but I also did that to Treecycle, but whatever. Um, yeah, yeah, there's some things that you can be blind to. There's some things that you can't. I've already said my fair share about like the Herbie movies that I saw growing up, and Shark Tale. Star Wars is also a good example. The prequels, because I thought those three movies were masterpieces. But after I got older and realized that they were a bunch of dumpster fires, yeah.
So I wanted to sit down and figure out exactly what was really so bad about this film. Keywords are wanted to.
Hang, hang on, I've got to listen to what he said there again. Oh, did I mute it? Oh, I can manipulate the sound with up and down. Okay, that's something that y'all know now.
I wanted to sit down and figure out exactly what was really so bad about this film. Keywords are wanted to.
You really didn't find anything wrong with the fact that Herbie sat in one location throughout 70% of the movie? and hardly did anything special. And he only competed in like two races, or the fact that the exposition is so heavy-handed and completely stupid, or the fact that later on, when they're trying to rebuild Herbie, they're like, "Oh, he has to be rebuilt with the exact same parts, otherwise he's not going to be the same." Even though first owner made modifications to Herbie because he's a freaking beetle that can't go very fast in a race. But like, you don't find a problem with all the contradictions to the previously established lore about Herbie? Okay, fine.
I tried. Oh, I tried.
You tried, but you couldn't. You can't. Oh god, that freeze frame. You tried, but if you were really trying, you'd be able to see those blatant contradictions.
I gave it my best. 110%.
Oh, I don't think that's true. If you still think that that movie's great, I don't think that's true.
And I just don't get it. What do you guys not like about this movie?
I don't know why you spread out your words like that. Also, like, I've already listed a few examples as to why you can't like it, or not why you can't like it, but why a lot of people don't like it, and why it's not a good movie. But yeah, I've already listed my reasons. So I mean, yeah. I mean, I've listed a few. Should I list more? I don't know. We'll get to them when we get to them.
Stellar acting that creates realistic.
Stellar acting as he shows the worst performed character in the center frame. This guy right here, he's the worst character in the whole thing, and the acting around him is terrible. He sounds like Jesse Eisenberg if Jesse Eisenberg was on drugs the whole time.
And hilarious characters. A story that actually.
Hilarious characters? Which characters are you talking about? Are you talking about the guy that was... Oh, hang on. Are you talking about the guy that was right here? Because, I mean, he had lines that would be considered funny, I would think. I don't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a year, and I refuse to watch it again. But he's the only character I can think about that would have been remotely funny. Maybe this guy in the background. But he's like, you know, your token black guy character.
A story that actually has an interest on the central concepts that it is putting forth. The force.
I mean, you say interest on the concepts, but like, if you mean like they destroyed the previously established lore, then sure, that could, yeah, sure. But we'll get to that, because this movie covers the origins of like how Herbie came to life, and it that was explained in the first movie. I don't remember what the explanation was, but it definitely wasn't as stupid as what it actually became in this movie.
Tried to realize how to bridge the gap between the originals while still putting a new twist on it all. Interesting.
New twist? What are you talking about? Herbie's repair? Because like that happened in the movie after that, and oh, I'm pretty sure it happened in the first movie too. What new twists? It's exactly the same as the first one.
acting, satisfying music. What is
I don't remember any of the songs. I don't think they even played Herbie's theme song throughout the entire movie. Like I don't remember there being a scene where they played it. There may have been, and I just forgot. Which I mean, there's a good chance that I forgot a lot about this movie, and I wish I forgot it. I never saw it, but here I am.
there to hate?
Well, okay.
The film starts off with a flashback recapping the basic ideas.
Yeah, okay. So this is your first warning. This is the first thing that you should be worried about, because if they're trying to do a soft reboot, they shouldn't have to have a beginning narration at all. They just shouldn't. It should be covered like through small exposition throughout the story. It should not. It shouldn't. None of the other movies mentioned Herbie's past. None of the other movies did. We just knew he's a living car and he's got the 53 on him. And so that implies that he's a race car. That there's hardly any need for any exposition about Herbie. The second movie did some exposition, but they didn't need to do it at the very beginning.
That had been set up in the original set of films, narrated by the late Dean Jones.
He was a daring little
Dean Jones, that was his name. That's right. That was the original owner of Herbie in the first movie, and he also made an appearance in the third movie. Or no, he was the main character in the third movie, but he wasn't in any of the other movies except this one, who he cameoed as, where he cameoed as Jim Douglas. Jim Douglas. I knew if I remembered his actor's name, his name, I would have remembered his character's name.
wild, willing to try almost anything.
Willing to try almost. There's. He wanted to, Herbie was. The thing about Herbie is that he just tried to help the people who happened to run into him. He was just a dude that cared about people. He just wanted to do things for people, and if people, and he was also pretty self-conscious conscious about himself, and he didn't react well when people started ignoring him. I don't think he was. I mean, he would be willing to try anything, but I don't think he was. He'd be willing to try anything for other people. He wouldn't be willing to try anything just for the sake of trying anything. If you know what I mean.
All for the love of his owner, Jim Douglas.
Okay. So what I said was completely pointless. I was an idiot. I didn't let him finish.
Try almost anything. All for the love of
Yep.
his owner, Jim Douglas.
And, the 3 other owners that owned him between the other movies, but yeah.
We flash forward to the present day, where Herbie
Yeah, I guess that's an alright. I would have preferred a fade instead of a flash. Because that, I don't know, it just looks better to me to fade into the present.
is in a car show being driven by a man named Simon Moy III.
Oh yeah, yeah, you know what I said about he likes to help out his owners, but this kind of contradicts Herbie's character a little bit, because this guy ends up being the villain in the movie, and I said everyone who's owned her, or every owner that Herbie has ever had, has tried, or he's always tried to help them. And Jim Douglas was not a good person in the beginning of the Love Bug, the '63 version. I think it was '63. It might have been '69. I don't remember, um, or '68 actually. I think. Anyway, Jim Douglas was not a great person, and then Herbie changed him by the end of the movie because Herbie's just that kind of dude. He like, yeah, Herbie's that kind of dude. But like Herbie has this effect on his owners that like but like this kind of contradicts Herbie himself because this guy uh, should Herbie should be trying to help him be a better person. So yeah, it's probably Herbie always had this way about him, and it always worked. But it apparently didn't work with this guy. So yeah.
Moore comes in last in the race, which is a great annoyance to him as he had specifically sought out this car due to its previous history in racing.
I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, I guess. But still, that doesn't change how it's just because this guy was looking for Herbie because it had history. But like, I don't even understand why Jim Douglas gave Herbie to other people. How did it get out of Jim's hands? I keep calling Herbie an it, but forgive me for that. Like how? This is something I never understood about these movies.
I mean, this is the Jim Douglas car. It's the one you asked for. It's the one that won all those races.
Moore is pissed about the failure that he had just experienced in the race and has Herbie towed off to the junkyard to await eternity.
They don't see anything wrong with him shaking. They don't. They don't see anything wrong with. Good lord, this is why I think this is a horrible movie, because nobody reacts to the obvious stuff about Herbie. But whatever.
Eternity.
Oh, that's why he was shaking. God. why do why do I have to keep being? Okay, eventually I'll start being good at this. Dear Lord. It's honking. No, my point still stands. Just replace the shaking with honking. Dear Lord. But still, like, Herbie was more like a dirt racer in the first movie. And he's a beetle. Like, most people didn't think when they ran across it, oh yeah, this is the Jim Douglas car. It's won so many races. Like, nobody knew the history of Herbie because, like, it's just a beetle. So, like, why would anyone be like, yes, this is the car that will win me the races? Like, how did he get this off of Jim Douglas? I never how did he get Herbie off of Jim Douglas? This makes no sense to me. Did he steal him? How did Herbie let himself get stolen? Stolen. This is becoming more of a review of the Love Bug reboot. Dear Lord, I read the title. I'm sorry. How is this? This is becoming more of a review of the movie instead of the actual review, but still. Well, no, because I'm pointing out that he's not pointing out this stuff.
We get to some sort of gas station repair combo where we see our main character, Hank Cooper, played by the lovely Bruce Campbell, goofing off.
Wow. Okay. So I love how you criticize Doug Walker for praising Bruce Campbell for being in the movie, but you but then you do it anyway. Um, we're going through this way faster than I got through than we did the Treesicle video. All right, I'm gonna take a break for a minute, because I have to go eat and feed my dogs. So I will be right back. I've returned. Did you miss me? How long was I gone? Oh dear lord, almost a lot of time that's going to be edited out later. Let's let's go. I don't remember what the point. I think I was done with the point I was making actually.
And watching a race. He's caught by his boss, who pulls him out to yell at him about his work ethic.
What? Why couldn't he just yell at him there? Why did they have to change scenes? Good lord. You don't find a problem with any of this, Quentin? You don't find a problem with this? Alright, fine. I feel like I feel another burp coming along. Nope, we're good. I'm probably gonna burp in the middle of a sentence later. Ugh.
This is coming out your paycheck, Hank. No, this is your paycheck.
It wasn't even a good race. I mean, come on. Rudy Walters? I used to race circles around guys like Walters.
I think they called that spinning out.
The whole scene is
Oh. Exposition! That's okay, alright. So there's a better way. There's a better way of there's a better way to tell us that Bruce Campbell's excuse me. Bruce Campbell's character was a racer at one point. There is a better way to say it than have two characters who already know talk about it. There's a better way. Which one example I thought of while I was eating is if someone was he was like working at the counter or something, and they were like filling out their check or whatever, and they were like, "Hang on a minute, I recognize you. You're Bruce Campbell's character that did all those races. What happened?" And then he like kind of avoids the question, which means like he didn't have a good time with his last race, and that. Don't know if y'all can hear him. Actually, I bet y'all can, because y'all heard them on. Because I know I could hear them on my Gaia playthrough. But yeah, those are my dogs. But like, there's better ways to get this exposition out. So yeah, they didn't have to like have this scene where two characters who already know about it talk about it.
It's clearly just a setup to dump a whole lot of character exposition on us. And it constantly...
Yeah, exposition dumps aren't good though. What? Let me go back and...
I used to race circles around guys like Walters.
I think they called that spinning out.
The whole scene is clearly just a setup to dump a whole lot of character exposition on us.
Yeah, which is bad. That's bad storytelling. You shouldn't have a scene that's dedicated to only delivering exposition. You should have a scene that like accomplishes two things at once. I know that scene that I talked about told us that he used to race, and something bad happened, and now he's working at this crappy place. But it also tells us that people remember him for being a good racer. Uh, there's not really much else that scene I gave out accomplishes, but it's way better by having two characters that we don't know instead of two characters that we do know talk about something that they should already know. Because like it's way better for a fan to see him and recognize, hang on a minute, you're that guy, because that happens way more. That happens way more naturally than two characters who are already know each other well enough to know what that scene is. Anyway.
And it constantly steers ever so close to being a bit too obvious about the fact that that is what it's doing.
Yeah, which is not great storytelling. It's not. That's not the best way to deliver your exposition.
But it still stays just far enough away from the road marks.
Does it? Does it? Because I remember watching it and I picked up instantly that that's what that scene was supposed to be.
That I never found it too grating.
There. I'm sure that a lot of people found this scene grating, and that's probably why they think so poorly of this video.
We're also introduced to our main side character, Roddy. Roddy will narratively...
Roddy, huh? I forgot that's what his name was. He's not. Well, we'll talk about him in a hot minute once he starts talking more about him.
serve the role as the first person who figures out that Herbie is alive.
Okay, and the way it's done is really stupid, but we will get to that. We'll get to that.
In previous films, these characters have usually been cast to be bright and doughy and fun, but
You're only showing one character, though. In fact, there were only two. Okay, there's three examples of this other than the movie we're currently reviewing, which is the first Love Bug movie, which is this one that's on screen right now, and the guy on the left was the one who figured out that Herbie was alive. And then in the second movie, most of the cast already knew that Herbie was alive, except for the main character. And then in the third one, Jim Douglas was in charge, and he had like a new partner with him. Not in charge, but he was the main character, and he had a new partner with him. But they both knew that Herbie was alive, so there was no need for that scene. But in the fourth one, a child figures it out, and I wouldn't really call him a doughy character. He was a poor kid that stole a lot because he was poor. And he just happened upon Herbie, and then Herbie like responded to him, and he was like, "Oh, you're a living car, cool." And then in Fully Reloaded, there's not a single character that could be referred to as doughy and or bright. Or hang on, what's the description he gave him?
in previous films, these characters have usually been cast to be bright and doughy and fun.
Bright and doughy and fun. There's not a single character in Fully Loaded that could be described as bright, doughy, and fun. But whatever.
But in this one, he is specifically put in the role because he constantly looks bad shit insane.
Yeah, he kind of makes you feel uncomfortable watching the movie, actually. And his acting is god-awful. It's, like, you can see on his face, he does not know how crazy people act. Because the way some of the way he's treated in the movie, he seems like he's sane, but then other scenes he's completely insane, and he acts completely insane, but like everybody else responds to it like, oh, he's acting like a normal person. So like, there's no way that he can. If he turns around and sees that face, he's like, oh god, I gotta get away from you. But that scene doesn't happen.
He's alive.
God, that's so bad. Good lord, I can't believe that he thinks that there's stellar acting in this movie when there's that character. But like, I had another point about that scene in particular. But like his way of trying to convince everyone that Herbie's alive is like they have a reason not to believe him because of the way he talks about it. Tennessee in the first movie, the way he talked about it, very vaguely, and he's like, Jim will figure it out eventually. He'll figure it out. He didn't really tell Jim specifically, this car's alive, dude, you gotta believe me. Because otherwise people would think he was insane. But he let Jim and lady character, I forgot her name, figure it out. Because he's not a moron.
The shop owner tells Hank that he's entered him into a racing competition since he does so little around the shop, and that if he doesn't enter, he will be fired.
That is such a terrible way to get Bruce Campbell to meet Herbie. That's so needlessly contrived. Why didn't you just fire him? Why didn't you just fire him? That makes no sense. Just fire him and hire someone else who does more. None of that. No, that's so contrived.
Be a washed-up mechanic, as well as a washed-up driver.
See what I love about the exposition? From that line...
No, that's... Sure, I'll let you continue.
I've already figured out that Hank, at some point, was a driver.
That's from... They did that in another line before this! You... Ah! Yeah. They established that in a line before this bit. When he said, I think that's called spinning out, if y'all recall that bit. But like, that was the line that established that he was no, it was the, I can run circles around people like Walter or whoever it was. That should have been the line that established that he was an ex-driver. Now, hang on, what's the line exactly?
Washed-up mechanic, as well as a washed-up driver.
Good lord, that's...
That...
Dude, you should have figured that out, like, a while ago, that he was an ex-driver. I should probably get off of this frame before I get kicked. Yeah, no. Sorry.
At some point, was a driver. The line was clearly put there just so I would figure this.
No, there was a previous line that told you this. And it could have been something else that was actually good. Also, this line is absolutely terrible. You'll be a washed-up mechanic as well as a washed-up driver. Good lord, that's such a terrible way to say, yeah, you're a mechanic now, but you used to be a driver person who used to be a driver, who is a mechanic now. Like, that's no, that's not good writing. That's awful writing. That's bad.
Out, and yet it's written in such a way that it sounds like an insult that I would dish out at someone if I were pissed at them.
Sure, but it doesn't. But that would imply that you're completely robotic, and you don't really understand how people can retain knowledge, especially if that knowledge came from them. All right, what if I walked up I'm talking to you guys, viewers. What if I talked to you one day and said, "Hey, you're one of my viewers." In case you didn't know that, like, would that not like be like, yeah, okay? Like, would you not find that as like strange to say, despite the fact that we both should know that. I mean, I don't know who's watching this, but if I knew this information, and you especially knew this information, wouldn't you find it weird that I said that you are my viewer? 'Cause I would definitely find that weird if it was in reverse.
Sometime later, Hank and Roddy await the car show as the racers ahead of them choose their own cars to fix up.
And you don't find this guy as are you gonna comment on this guy's stupid line delivery and his acting, his overacting, I should say, because it's really stupid and dumb. And I mean, you can just tell by the way he moves. You can tell.
Later, Hank and Roddy await the car
Look
show
at
as the racers
look
ahead
at that.
of them choose their.
Look, I mean, come on. You don't find a problem with that?
Own cars to fix up. Apparently, this is some sort of fixer-up car show.
Yeah, that's not what you got from the previous line of exposition, or much more better, the if I can
A little around the shop. And
hang on, let me second annual big fix off. Like, come on, that should tell you everything.
tells Hank that he's entered him in.
See, second annual big fix off. That should be the best mechanic. That should have been what told you all that stuff.
He does so little. From that really put there would dish out at some.
That should have been what you picked up from that scene. Was that's what the race was. This shouldn't be where you figure that out. You're like learning stuff on their second go around, which tells me more about you than it does about the movie. I mean, no wonder you think this movie's good, because it was intended for people who don't understand exposition on the first go around. I don't know why I'm doing this hand thing that I keep like throwing my hands around. But y'all can't see it, so like I don't know why I'm bothering.
Cars to fix up. Apparently this is some sort of fixer-up car show, wherein mechanics pick out junkers based entirely on outward appearance and then race to see who can finish a lap first.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That makes sense to me. But he's about to say something that doesn't make sense. But whatever.
Now, hold on a second. If this is a competition against mechanics, why are they all working on different cars?
Well, it's about their skills at fixing cars, and it's kind of like how the dirt races in the how is Herbie allowed in any of the races at all, since he's so different from most cars that he's in a race with? Like, why aren't you bringing that up? This within these movies and within their logic, this is fine. I don't see why you need to bring it up, because it's apparently never been a problem before for you. I don't see why Whatever.
How can you compete against other mechanics when you're all working on different cars?
Number two,
Got me.
where are you?
Did he just ask the same question that they were gonna ask? Is he? Oh yeah, he is. I remember. Okay. I'm gonna play this out in full.
Choose their own cars to fix up. Apparently, this is some sort of fixer-up car show, wherein mechanics pick out junkers based entirely on outward appearance and then race to see who can finish a lap first. Now, hold on a second. If this is a competition against mechanics, why are they all working on different cars?
Okay, and not only that, but like that's his first piece of actual criticism right there. That actually holds any water. But it's still dumb because it's a competition of how well can you fix a car. I don't think it really matters what kind of car it is. I don't know. Maybe someone who knows more about cars can like correct me on this. But this is a minor point that I've got. The big point is coming up. let me play this again so that you'll see what comes after this.
Competition against mechanics, why are they all working on different cars?
How can you compete against other mechanics when you're all working on different cars?
Number two,
Got me.
where are you?
This is a joke, man.
What just happened?
Well, Quentin, you see, this is what we call scripting in the YouTube business, where you script your review and you make up scenarios, because I highly doubt that you asked that question intentionally without knowing that they were going to lampshade it. And hang on.
I watched this film with a friend to prepare for this review, and what I found was that every time they tried to point out a plot hole, the film would almost immediately address it seconds after he had voiced his concerns.
Okay, now, this is what we call the storytelling business lampshading. Alright, lampshading is not good. Because they address a problem with the movie, and they don't fix it. Because dude asked, okay, how come if this is a race between mechanics, why are they allowed to fix different why are they picking different cars? And then other guy's response is got me. As in he has no idea either. So there's no point to asking the question. It doesn't add anything. And all it does is frustrate the viewer because it felt like they were going to address a plot hole, but they didn't. They said, there's a plot hole here, but we're not going to fix it. No. It's not a good quality about this movie. It isn't. Just because they point out a plot hole does not mean that they fixed it. That doesn't make the plot hole go away.
This, however, is an inherent problem not for the film, but for me.
No, that is a problem with the film.
As an internet reviewer. Because picky bullshit nonsense is where I get 90% of my comedic material.
I mean, sure, comedic, but like if 90% of your review is if 90% of your review is picky bullshit nonsense. You spelled nonsense wrong, by the way. There's not supposed to be an E there. But if that's 90% of your video, you're no better than CinemaSins. Because like you're not addressing actual. Let's see, honest value. That's 8%. That shouldn't be 8% of your video. Or your views. You should be trying to make good criticisms. You should be trying to address problems and be able to say, yeah, that's pretty stupid. So that kind of brings down a few points for the movie. No, I'm not. So like, that's a problem with you. If that's a problem. I don't know if you're being serious about this. But wait, no, he said that's a problem for him because that's
Picky bullshit nonsense is where I get an internet review. Not for the film, but for me, as an internet reviewer. Because picky bullshit nonsense is where I get 90% of my comedic material.
so he's so he just said that he doesn't offer good criticism. He hardly offers any good criticism. It's a problem for him because now he has to actually try, but he doesn't try, and so the movie's perfect.
So yeah, sorry if this one's a little bit dry, guys. I'm trying my best.
Oh no, your painful garbage takes are comedy enough.
Roddy points out that it's sad to see no one picking Herbie, saying that he feels bad for the car.
It's just a car. They don't know he's alive. It's just a car. I don't see why you would feel bad for a for a 63 bug. I don't see why he would feel bad about it, but whatever. I think it's a 63 bug. I'm I'm not. It's been a while since I've seen the Herbie movies, so like I'm not completely like freshed up on my lore, but I'm pretty sure I can pick up most of the nonsense that comes from all the retcons.
Hank decides to pick Herbie himself, despite knowing that he has no chance of winning if he does this.
I mean, is it his intention to like this is the problem. If he intends to keep his job, why didn't he just do his job good instead of just okay, I'll do this race to keep my job that I'm probably not going to do very well on anyway, so why why
The light, sentimental music in this scene suggests that Hank chooses Herbie because he feels bad for it. But
you feel bad for an inanimate object or a presumed inanimate object. Good lord, that's not good writing. This is the worst way to get these two characters together. This no. I mean, it's not the worst way. There's probably definitely worse things, but this is not the best option because it's so needlessly contrived. They could have done better.
the dialogue directly afterwards suggests that it's actually because he just wanted to fuck with his boss.
All you said was I had to enter.
I like him.
Did he say that? I don't remember if that's I don't care to check, but if it's sure fine, but I still don't see why he picked Herbie.
Hank and Reddy start working on repairing Herbie's engine, eventually resulting in this odd moment.
Okay. I need you all to mentally prepare yourself because what I remember this very well. Okay, I remember this very well about what's about to happen. I need you all to brace yourselves. If you've seen the Herbie movies or then this is gonna come off as weird. If you've never seen the Herbie movies, this is especially going to seem weird. Because this does not normally happen in movies like the Herbie movies. So I'm gonna... Alright, I'm gonna show this to you.
Into this odd moment.
I think he said the distributor.
Oh... I think he said the distributor. Good lord. That is... No, that's not... Good lord, do you understand how... That's... It's so bad. I think it said the distributor. And like... He doesn't say, like, dude, what the heck are you talking about? He doesn't say that. This does, I'm like, this does not clue in to Bruce Campbell that Herbie's alive. Whenever he gets proven correct, because he's like, oh, what do you know? It's the distributor that's wrong, and then he fixes it, and then like everything's okay. He doesn't pick that up as like either, whoa, the car's alive, or dude, how did you know that? And why did you say that the car said it? Like, he doesn't question it at all, I don't think. I don't remember him questioning it.
That's what it sounded like.
Oh, did it?
That's what it sounded like. It said, how do you pick up, like, beep, beep. How do you pick up 3 honks and like, say that's the distributor? Distributor. That's 4 syllables, and he only honked 3 times. How do you get distributor from 3 honks? Heck, the distributor would be 5.
Well,
Dear Lord, that would either give him the idea, dude, how did you know, or dude, this car's alive. Those are the 2 responses that would have made sense. But what happens is...
distributor's cracked.
Even as a kid, I thought this was stupid.
Okay. He's saying this is stupid. All right. Okay, this is actual. All right. So this is his second point of criticism that actually holds water.
Stupid for Roddy to take the distributor from that basic honk. I at one point considered the possibility that at some stage of production or writing, Herbie actually had dialogue, but now.
What? What a leap! Herbie had dialogue? Could you imagine a Herbie movie where Herbie talks? I don't know if I could. That is so bizarre compared to, like, the other movies where he doesn't talk. That's so strange. And, okay, if you think that's so, then why did he say, I think it's the distributor? Why do you think I think it's the distributor, if it would have been obvious if he said it's the distributor, if he had actual dialogue? So his point no longer holds water. Good lord. But at least he thought the scene was stupid. Good lord.
Now that I am grown up enough to pick up on underlying motifs and cues, I think we're supposed to believe that some people can just...
Yeah, because of this super obvious scene where like, oh, I can understand Herbie too. Freaking God. This is something a 5-year-old could understand, because these 2 characters have a conversation that they can understand Herbie as well. There's no reason that you shouldn't have been able to pick it up when you got older. You should have been able to pick this up when you were 5 or maybe 6. That's so strange to me that you didn't pick that up because it's spelled out for you.
Understand what Herbie is saying.
He spoke to me.
He spoke to me too, Doc.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna play that again because of ad stuff. So.
Herbie is saying.
He spoke to me.
He spoke to me too, Doc.
Like, they said that! Ah! They said that out loud! How did you not pick that up when you were younger? How did you not pick that up? How did you only pick that up when you were older? I've got to listen to that whole thing again.
Motifs and cues, I think we're supposed to believe that some people can just understand what motifs and
Hang on.
dialogue. But now that I am grown up enough to pick up on underlying motifs and cues, I think
Underlying? It's heavily implied. It's not even implied. It's told to us that freaking Jesse Eisenberg knockoff could understand this, could understand Herbie. And then it's just randomly said by this guy that he can understand Herbie too, which makes sense because of a reason we'll get to later. But, like, yeah, we were able to that tells us that, yeah, some people can understand Herbie. It makes no sense, it's dumb, but yeah, it's easy to figure out. You don't have to figure that out when you're older.
we're supposed to believe that some people can just understand what Herbie is saying.
He spoke.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, sure.
To me.
He spoke to me too, Doc.
Oh, God, that scene is so bad. God, can I kill myself yet? Oh. Oh, I hate this video. I hate it so much.
That makes sense with some of the characters being able to argue and talk with the car unfold, but it's still a bit of an odd concept, I suppose. And
It's not that odd of a concept. Several other characters in the other movies talked to Herbie angrily or politely, or like they talk to Herbie. And they could understand he's saying by like some of the ways that he beeps. Like you can tell it's an enthusiastic beep or a sad beep. Like you can just tell his emotions and how he feels at the moment. They never picked up his. It's like how trainers understand their Pokemon in the anime. It's like that. They don't understand it word for word, but they can feel what they're talking about. It's just they just feel it in their jellies. That's a quote from Detective Pikachu.
you likely wouldn't pick up on it on your first time through.
I picked up on that immediately, and it's super annoying because he spells it out for you. He says, I think he means the distributor. Good Lord, could that not be obvious to you? How could that not be obvious to you? Good Lord.
I think most people would immediately reconcile Roddy as criminally insane from the get-go.
Yeah, he is. I'm surprised that no one in the movie reacts that way towards him. Because, good Lord, he acts like, even knowing that he's correct, that Herbie is alive, he still acts like a maniac. He's like flashing lights everywhere, trying to like prove to that's a scene later in the movie that still hasn't happened yet. But like, you'll see later if he shows these scenes that I'm talking about, that like, the dude's insane. The dude's insane.
Get-go, since he's already talking to the car and everything, but I actually kind of find it charming.
You're gonna be okay.
I mean, there's some scenes where, yeah, it's charming, but I prefer Tennessee because you actually felt safe around Tennessee, and he was a likable character. This guy is not very likable. He's, yeah.
Just need a little help. Little TLC. Yeah.
That's the sort of
Good
thing.
lord. The dialogue is so bad. Oh god. I can't believe he's defending this movie. I can't believe it.
That I do to cars and pets and stuff. Just talk to them and say nice things, even when I know that they're not listening.
Oh, you might be insane then. Wait, no, you can. Did you say talking to dogs was the same as talking to cars? Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. You can talk to cars, but like I don't ever talk to it nicely because I usually angrily shout at it. But like it's because I know they don't have feelings. Good lord, like come on, dude. This guy acts insane. Yeah, he talks to the car, which like isn't exactly normal, but it's still like it's normal enough to where like okay, yeah, he's talking to the car, whatever. But he's talking to it in a way that sounds like he believes it's alive, and the way he talks to it makes him sound insane. And yeah, no, none of that, please. None of that. No, I can't believe you're defending this. Good lord.
It's not exactly the sort of thing that you'll find on charts on how to write good main characters, but on that note, I think it's...
Hang on, okay, I've gotta listen to that clip again.
stuff. Just talk to them and say nice things, even when I know that they're not listening. It's not exactly the sort of thing that you'll find on charts on how to write good main characters.
Yeah, because the need to talk, the feeling that you get to talk to cars is definitely something that is worth putting on a chart on writing good characters. Because that makes a good character is talking to cars in a strange and clearly not mentally stable way.
But on that note, I think it's fine for him to be a little sporadic and eccentric.
Yeah, sporadic and eccentric, sure, but he does have some scenes later where he yeah, but it's still like super maybe if he was a kid, that I think would be way better. Way more because like at least I wouldn't think he's insane because of the way he's acting. I would think like, oh, he's just a kid acting like a kid. But this is an adult acting like a kid, and no one sees a problem with it. And the way he's acting like a kid is kind of a bit much.
So they set up for the race and prepare to head off. All three of the judges for the race have some sort of important bearing on the plot. So,
I mean, okay, I would call that contrived because that's awfully convenient for all of them to like have some kind of influence. I would definitely call that convenient. It's convenient and contrived.
Simon is, of course, the racer we saw at the start of the film.
Yeah, in case, I mean, I'm actually surprised you didn't forget about him, because, yeah, because based on what we've covered earlier, yeah.
Judge is an owner of some sort of organization that does custom bodywork. And the third judge, Alex, is a writer for a racing magazine as well as the ex of Hank.
Oh, cool. So she just so happens to be Hank's ex. I. Good lord. See what I mean about contrived? It's there doesn't need to be any. There doesn't need to be. Dude was just racing, so you'd think he'd be off to go find another car instead of watching a race that his old car is now in. I don't understand why he's a judge here and why he isn't trying to find a better car now.
Dated her.
Oh, good lord. Herbie, that's not you. That's not you, Herbie. Good lord.
Alex is, I find, a pretty well-rounded character.
Is she, though? I barely remember her. I only, like, she just seemed like the love interest character to me. I don't think she had much of anything to going on for her.
Too often these films either have female characters who are obviously underwritten because of the time that the film was made in, or ones that are purposefully overwritten in the fact that they are women and thus strong and independent. In either
Yeah, but there's some freaking Aliens is a good example of like a good female character. Um, like, yeah, there's a lot of movies that don't develop their female characters very well.
instance,
Oh,
there rarely
sorry,
is anything to talk about.
I was messing with my mouse and um, anyway, like there's some movies that don't develop their female characters enough, some that develop them too much. But like, I there are some movies that were made before this that are probably way better written than this the reporter girl.
Strong and independent. In either instance, there rarely is anything to talk about with them other than the fact that they are indeed of the female variety.
There's other movies. So like this is what I hate about when they talk about women in film. They don't realize. Oh, sorry. They don't realize that there are movies that do this right, and they like to ignore those movies. This is not doing her character any justice. This movie does not do her character justice. It, she's still just love interest character. That's all she is.
This character, meanwhile, at least has some base interests and personality that are irrelevant to her gender and make her seem a bit more real.
Really? Because all she just seems she doesn't really contribute in any way to the plot. So like she might as well, if she wasn't there, then the movie would be exactly the same. But they have to have a love interest for some reason, so.
Sure, later on in the film, there are still a few cringe-worthy moments of the rest.
Yeah, you're not counting that as a factor against it because it's really bad and heavy-handed.
There's trying to poke fun at previous standards for women in film, but overall,
she still fills that role. She still fills that role of like, I'm just woman character. I'm female character. That's my character. That's who I am. There's nothing to her.
when I watch this film, I never feel like Alex is a symbol before she's a person. So
I don't think she's a person at all. I don't think she's even a symbol. She's just there. She's just there. That's all I see her as, is just she's just there. She's not a character. Also, like, I don't know if they just started moving, but like You need to pull up to the line a little bit, sir.
So the race starts
Oh,
off, and
okay.
it seems like Team Herbie.
There's those two aren't moving though. So like Herbie definitely needs to pull up. Come on, what are you doing? Anyway.
Alex is a symbol before she's a person. So the race starts off, and it seems like Team Herbie is out for the count.
By the way, we're in the first 10 minutes of the movie. So like he's I'm assuming there's a part 3. But like he needs to pick up the pace. I mean, to be fair, I've already spent like an hour and a half on this, but like yeah. Like this is half of your first part, dude. I'm covering your whole thing in here. How quick is the end going to be rushed? How quick is the rest of the movie going to be rushed is what I'm wondering.
That doesn't last long, as Herbie takes off so fast that he makes a wheelie and turns into 1990s 3D animation. Yeah, there's a reason that Toy Story stuck to toys, but again, this is a 1997 movie. I think that it's harsh to judge these effects.
Yeah, okay. I don't think anyone is going to say, oh, the CG's so bad. Because, like, I'm definitely considering some of the I'm definitely considering its age when I critique its CG, but like I don't really critique CG on old movies. So if anyone has complaints about the CG, just why? He shouldn't have to talk about this. He shouldn't have to.
Effects too critically. While it does indeed make Herbie look like a rubber bath toy.
Wait! Is he actually giving critical critiques then? Wait, hang on, hang on. He said he's trying not to. If he's giving critical critiques, then how does he not see what people don't like about this movie? I don't understand how people don't see it.
A lot of the effects past this fact are impressive, and the integration is near flawless.
I mean, a cut between the two things is... I would barely call that a good integration. I would just say they cut and now he's a normal car again. Like, it's... yeah, barely...
hard to explain, I guess. But even if I do always feel like this is an effect, I also always feel like the car is actually there. It's very...
Really? I don't, because it's obviously CG. That's the thing with CG, is that like once you notice that it is, you kind of don't feel like it's actually there anymore.
Very physical in nature. It teeters the line of suspension of disbelief next to knowledge that this is in fact a film.
Hang on, what?
Is actually there. It's very physical in nature. It teeters the line of suspension of disbelief next to knowledge that this is in fact a film.
Just because they use CG, just... What do you mean it's admitting that it's a film? Of course it's a film. If they're gonna do unbelievable things, which Herbie has done this in previous Herbie movies, with much better effects. I think in the first one he did a wheelie, and it looked way better than this. And that was made in 69 or 68. It was made in the 60s. It looks way better than this does. I'm pretty sure there was one in the first movie. I don't remember. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. Or, heck, I'll tell my future self if I'm wrong, if I decided to watch it. Anyway, like, it teeters on suspension of disbelief and acknowledging that it is a film. What do you mean by that? Suspension of disbelief is something that's in the audience. they're willing to put past their disbelief to enjoy the movie, because based on the other movies, that's a thing that Herbie can do, is a wheelie. He can do that. But like the CG, people are going to understand, people are going to be like, yeah, there's no way a real one could do that, but Herbie can. And you know, that's not going to hurt. That's not going to hurt anyone's suspension of disbelief. And that's definitely not the movie saying, yeah, we're a movie. Of course they're going to do that. It's a movie. I don't get it. I don't get what they're talking about. All you had to say was that it doesn't hurt your suspension of disbelief. That's all you had to say.
Speaking of Toy Story, throughout the entire film, Bruce Campbell constantly sounds like he's doing a Woody impression.
Well, all right. Let's go. Now let's catch up to that truck. Oh.
Okay, yeah, sure. Alright, they sound vaguely similar.
Herbie and Hank obviously win the race and are the buzz of the event. While one of the judges seems to take his victory as a sign that he is at least a good mechanic, the others are extremely skeptical. The theme of...
Yeah. This is... Okay. So we've got one character who has experience with the car for some reason. We've got one character that has no experience, but he is a good mechanic. So he should also know. If the reporter girl knows that it can't do that, he should also be suspicious. Why is he the only one that isn't suspicious? Why is no one else suspicious? What? Good Lord. This movie.
of Hank being annoyed that no one will believe that winning the race was the fruit of his own efforts is a major theme in the film and pops up constantly. People wanting to give Herbie the credit when he feels like he deserves the limelight is something that he constantly bickers about.
Yeah, it's kind of heavy-handed and forced, and like, I don't understand why everyone's like, oh, the car. But like, none of them know he's alive. It makes no sense why they're praising the car. They should be asking him, how did he do that? That's what they should be asking. How did they do that with a car that shouldn't be able to do that? That's what they should be asking instead of, wow, that car's such a good car. Instead of, like, I am on Bruce Campbell's side here. Or, what's his character's name? I don't remember. I don't care either. But, like, Bruce Campbell's character was like he makes sense. He's the best character in the whole movie. Because the actor knows how to act. And he's like the most well-written one out of all of them. Because no one is saying, how did you get it to do that? Instead, they're like, how did that car do that? Like, yeah, Anyway, let's continue.
It's brought up a lot, but I wish they'd given it a bit more of a clear payoff.
They didn't have to start it in the first place, though. I don't think anyone would have... Heck, I don't... Okay, now I'm gonna backtrack on myself. Because, like, now that I'm thinking about it more, like, why is Hank complaining that no one's complimenting him? The car was his doing. Why is he not saying, yeah, that's something I did? That's something that the car did thanks to me. Thanks for noticing that the car did. Gosh dang it! Why can't? Uh. See now I'm like, good lord, they didn't have to do it that way. They didn't have to. This story didn't have to happen, but they wanted to do a soft reboot of the first Love Bug that was different enough to be its own story, but still remain close enough to be the same. And this, the writing isn't good here. It's not good. Revolving around Hank's obsession with everyone saying, "Oh, the car didn't do the work," and like that realization, like, "Oh, they complimented the car instead of me because it was the car that did it." Like, why didn't that hurt him significantly? That he's like, "Oh, that wasn't me who did it. That was that was something else. He had no part in it." Why didn't that hurt him any? Why didn't? Good lord. uh, uh, the first Love Bug's the best one. Just, yeah.
We keep getting brief snippets of the history of Hank's life before the start of the film. Most specifically on
Brief snippets. They exposition it at us.
the topic of his life of racing and his relationship with Alex. When meeting with Simon, it's brought up that they both competed in the same races, but Simon has no idea who he is and has never heard of him. We could take this as Simon just being an all-around bag.
You know what? I'm okay with Simon not recognizing. I'm gonna call him Tom Hanks now because of the Woody. I'll just call him Woody from now on. I'm just calling him Woody, but it makes sense to me that he wouldn't know Woody because, like, why should he care? Oh god, I had a better point, I swear. Let me try and...
We keep getting brief snippets of the history of Hank's life before the start of the film. Most specifically on the topic of his life of racing and...
Okay, yeah, too much of the movie is spent on explaining what he did in the past. There's too much time spent on that. It's frankly, it's annoying, and it's hurting my suspension of disbelief because it's reminding me, oh, it's a movie. Remember when we were talking about suspension of disbelief? That should be what's hurting it, not the CG, the frequent expositioning about crap that should already be known to these characters that they're like they're making it out to be like the movie that I would have rather seen would have been what Woody did before the movie took place. I'm more interested to see that instead of having it being talked about. Instead of seeing a garbage Herbie movie.
Relationship with Alex. When meeting with Simon, it's brought up that they both competed in the same races, but Simon has no idea who he is and has never heard of him. We could take this as Simon just being an all-around bag, or we could take it to be that despite his talents, Hank wasn't very recognized in the racing industry.
Except that, like... Well, actually, no one recognized him. So he's right. Okay, fine then. Okay, yeah. No one recognized him except for the people that already knew him in this movie, so whatever.
After a long series of circumstances, which end in Herbie driving Alex and Hank to the middle of nowhere and locking them in so they have to talk about their
Oh,
problems,
good lord, that looks so bad.
is forced to explain why he broke up with Alex, which boils down to the fact that she could only ever talk
They didn't talk about it when they were... whatever.
about racing. More specifically, he started to view spending time with her as a constant reminder of previous failures.
Let me give you a little dating tip. Never blow off women who show an interest in what you do.
An interest? Now, wait a minute. You brought up every...
Okay, just because a woman has interest in the things that you do is not a reason why you should break up with them. Because the reason why you should break up with them is because the relationship isn't working out. But, like, her reasoning is so terrible, good lord.
Every crash I had, every blown engine, every mischief you threw my...
Yeah, because that's constructive criticism. Quinton, you could take a lesson from her. I mean, from what he's telling us about her, instead of actually learning anything about her through her. He's telling her about things that she already... God damn it. Exposition, everyone. What is it? Can someone tell me what that is?
My entire failed career at me.
These fervent discussions of Hank giving up on things that he used to love and care about feel like they should be building up to some sort of obvious payoff moment. You keep expecting some sort of big scene where Hank finally fesses up and stares off into the distance as he tells some depressing flashback story about why he quit. You know, the sort of thing that every sports movie has to do. But we really never get this sort of scene.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's actually kind of good writing because it doesn't leave us asking questions about, like, why in God's name is this movie happening. But
kind of split on if I like that or not.
I mean, you can like or dislike whatever you want. It's still bad writing.
The way the film is written, the leading characters are sort of non-conformist in terms of how films usually go. To have some sort of dumb big moment where Hank stares a little past the camera but not directly into it and suddenly flickers to black and white, well, it would be a very...
I mean, it doesn't... I mean, that scene actually does happen in this movie. Not about Hank's stuff, but about some other character that happens to another character. So, I mean, yeah.
Movie thing to happen.
Oh! Oh! So he's criticizing the movie. Wait, so he's saying that he likes that the movie is not acting like a movie? What?
Okay, so the Herbie universe isn't exactly the most realistic one to choose from, but there's a clear contrast between having moments and ideas that are more fantastical and having your characters be written in a totally transparent movie context.
What? What? To me, it seems like most of how the characters meet Herbie seems pretty reasonable on the other 5 movies. Well, maybe not Fully Loaded. Fully Loaded's a little contrived on how Lindsay Lohan meets Herbie. It's pretty contrived on that one, but the other 4 movies seem fine on their own.
One that removes all plausibility for those things being real, so they can instead make it a little easier on the script writers.
Okay, here's the thing about this, okay? Herbie is a living car, and, you know, to make Herbie, so they have to do something with that. Because otherwise he's just a car that just happens to be alive. So if he doesn't do anything fantastical, it's not going to seem like anything, you know... It's not going to make Herbie seem all that special. He's just going to be a car that just so happens to be alive. He won't seem like an actual character that's capable of doing cool things. He's just there. Kind of like the trolley in the second movie. Like, that was a living car, but it was just there. There wasn't really it didn't really do anything fantastical.
Transformation of how he changes throughout the film isn't obvious at first, but I almost feel like it's better that way. The movie thing to happen would be for the character's transformation to be that he feels like he doesn't get enough credit, and then he eventually gets that credit alongside major fame.
He does, though. That does happen. Why are you criticizing movies for being movies? I don't get what you're saying. Are you? If a movie isn't acting like a movie, I would consider that bad movie making. I don't understand what he's saying by this. I remember him saying this, and I didn't understand what he was talking about. This doesn't make sense to me.
But in this film, I suppose the transformation is that he doesn't feel like he gets enough credit and fame, and then he realizes that he only got to where he was due to the work of other people / sentient cars, and he suddenly stops being a giant man-child about everything. Before this,
I don't think it was. I think his anger is justified, actually. Because no one was giving him credit. I keep going back on that. I keep going back on myself. I said, okay, yeah, but like, the thing is, like, there were two ways that you could take it. Both of them, I think, are justified. Maybe I should say that and just end it right there. Both directions are justified. Him accepting, yeah, this is the car that I worked on. Yeah, yeah. But I feel like his anger is justified, that no one is giving him credit. Me.
He realizes that he only got to where he was due to the work of other people / sentient cars, and he suddenly stops being a giant man-child about everything.
Yeah, he stops suddenly because he's like, oh, it's other people. He's like, he's not. Suddenly his pride is hurt because his pride should have been hurt because he's like, oh, I didn't do that wonderful thing. That was somebody else. He should feel much more worse, but he doesn't. He's like, oh, everything's better now that I know that it wasn't me who did that. Like, that. No.
Before the scene where the two are locked in the car, we get this short gag scene wherein they stop at a red light and end up next to one of those newfangled spring-loaded cars that went out of style a long time ago, but are still kind of cool to watch. And Herbie tries to impersonate one of them.
Okay, yeah, it's... Alright, but that's something that Herbie would do. I don't see why you're bringing this up. This does... nothing.
Clearly stupid, kinda dates it a lot, but the most important thing is that this is what sends Simon over the edge.
No, it's not. It was the race, you dingus! This scene doesn't need to happen! It doesn't need to happen. The race would have done enough. If you've just had a line where Hank walks off, and then he's like, I need to look more into that car, because somehow it did that wheelie. I need to figure out what it is that made it do that. That should have been what it was, but instead they did this stupid scene that added nothing. This scene only takes up screen time. It eats up your movie, your runtime. It should have been cut. It doesn't help the movie in any way. It's the most worthless scene in this movie full of worthless scenes.
Deciding that he has to figure out the secrets behind Herbie once and for all. Something that I appreciate about this film is that the entire plot basis is entirely centered around the existence of Herbie in this universe.
Wait, is he saying this is the first one that did it? Because that's what the first movie did.
For all. Something that I appreciate about this film is that the entire plot basis is entirely centered around the existence of Herbie in this universe.
The first movie did that! The first movie did that better than this one. Why on earth are you... By the way, get used to seeing Herbie in this garage, because he stays there for like 70% of the movie.
If you're a diehard Herbie fan, this might annoy you, as this breaks the basic structure of the early films. And if you're...
What? No, that was the structure of the first film. What are you talking about?
Someone who isn't really into the Love Bug films, you likely don't know what I'm talking about. Love Bug films treated the character of Herbie in the same way that they would the Three Stooges or any...
What? No, I mean, okay. In this Herbie Rides Again and Herbie Goes Bananas, yeah. But in the Love Bug and Monte Carlo and Fully Loaded, he plays a huge part in the... He's part of the plot. He's a significant character. He influences it. I don't know what you... Good lord. Yes, the story talking about him is more impressive than him actually doing stuff. Like a character would.
Any other classic gag characters of old. You're there to see your favorite characters wander into goofy situations that have a little...
This is the second worst movie that he's showing right now. And I hate it because of what he's describing. This description only fits this movie and Herbie Goes Bananas.
To actually do with them. Do you want to see a movie where the Three Stooges meet a witch who hates them and she creates a set of evil stooges who they have to battle throughout the rest of the film and it gets real serious?
What? That is such a weird Three Stooges plot, dude. That is so strange.
No, you don't want to see that. You want to see the Stooges just wander into other people's movies and mess everything up.
I don't know how... But that's not what Herbie does. Herbie doesn't wander into other people's movies and screw things up. He's in his own movies that he has actual influence on. So, I mean, I'll say what I want about this Herbie Rides Again and Herbie Goes Bananas, but he's part of the movie, and he helps the plot move along, and it definitely feels like a Herbie movie. Like Herbie's an actual character.
But on that note, the classic difference between Herbie and the Stooges is clear. Herbie is an explicitly unique idea that wouldn't be normal to see in the real world.
I don't know if Herbie's a unique idea, because a lot of people have the idea of a living car. Because the way they're designed, they look like they have a face on their front. The way that their bumpers and their headlights are shaped, it kind of looks like they have a face. So, like, especially children will have the idea that cars are alive. So...
The fact, for instance, that Herbie films so often use the reveal that Herbie is alive as a gag scene before...
A gag scene? The reveal that when Jim Douglas found out that Herbie was alive and Herbie tried to kill himself because Jim Douglas neglected him. was a slapstick scene, or how did he describe it?
Often use the reveal that Herbie is alive as a gag
A
scene.
gag? No, no. Also, the scene you're using was like a tension relieving moment, because like this dude doesn't know that Herbie's alive, but it's like that moment, like, oh, thank God we don't have to get rid of Herbie because this guy's like a car enthusiast and he's willing to support us for our next race. That was like a huge moment. Why are you showing this scene where everyone's like, thank goodness you're willing to help us and not screw us over? I don't see how this scene is a gag scene. They're rarely a gag scene. The only one that uses a gag scene to show that Herbie's alive is probably Herbie Rides Again. Because, like, I mean, it's barely even a gag because Herbie almost got main character killed because he was trying to prove to dude that he was alive by competing in a joust thing. Like, I would hardly call that a gag scene. I mean, it's just barely a gag scene because it looks ridiculous, but it's still a serious scene because dude's almost about to die.
Before an actual plot point shows that they were at least a bit disconnected from their own universe.
Wait, hang on, what? I have to listen to that again. I'm Quinton. I'm not trying to be like you, where you take people out of context in your response videos. I'm trying my best to keep you within full context as can, so I can give you as much credit as possible. But yeah,
Real world. The fact, for instance, that Herbie films so often use the reveal that Herbie is alive as a gag scene
that's not a
before
gag
an
scene.
actual plot point shows that they were at
It is
least
a plot point.
bit disconnected from their own
This
universe.
one is the least plot point Herbie reveal than most of them. And I don't even think that they had a reveal in Herbie Fully Loaded. They just suddenly figured out that Herbie was alive somehow. But yeah, that's not quite not yeah, you're not correct, dude.
A car being alive is pretty weird to say the least, and it needs exploring in full.
Oh, that's it? That's all you're going to say is, "Oh, it needs exploring." Wow, okay, cool. I mean, I don't understand. The fact that Herbie is alive is essential to these movies because he plays a huge part in these movies. I don't get it. What? I don't get what you're talking about. Herbie barely does anything in the '97 Love Bug because he's after that hydraulic scene and he drives them over to the cliff. He mostly stays in the garage the entire time. He doesn't do any crazy drives off with the driver. He doesn't he doesn't do anything that cars normally shouldn't do. The most he does is lock himself or open a door once or twice. That's just about all that he does after the cliff scene. And then there's the race at the end, which of course Herbie's going to do stuff in the race. Well, no, he barely does stuff. He barely does anything. Oh my goodness. Okay, whatever. Anyways, I think Oh boy, 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think 20 minutes of that is going to be cut out because of I had to go eat and feed the dogs and whatnot. But oh boy, I'll probably cover part two next week. So stay tuned for that. I hope you all enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Still, hey, and those of you who are curious about Pokemon Gaia, um, I don't know yet. Well, we'll see. But and the fan fiction podcast, I don't know either, because there's nothing really that's stopping me. I've just kind of lost interest in it a little bit. But maybe if the other guys can convince me to do another one, then I'll do it. But I think that's gonna be it for now. Hope you all enjoyed this episode. Uh, like it if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it. If you really liked Quinton's review, go watch that. Um, Subscribe if you want to see more of my stuff, and comment on what you'd like to see me break cover in Let's Pause after I get done with these Quinton reviews. So I guess I'll see you in the next episode, where we'll cover part two of this god awful review. Call me a post credit sequence because I forgot to do something and it's very important. I give this episode a dislike. I'll see you all in the next one. And by the way, I've gotten an update about Pokemon Gaia, and it's done now. There's no more of it. So, yeah. It was fun while it lasted, but yeah.